I think it's working.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to Terralosa Park.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia and I are in a park close to her home. It's beautiful today. It's a day in August. I know you're watching this in September, but we're filming it a little bit early.
This is coming out August 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so right around the corner.
Yeah, we thought we would share a little bit of our outdoors with you because that's what we've been trying to do this summer, is spend a lot more time outdoors, right?
Yes, yes. And you've been successful at that, right?
I have, yeah.
What have you been doing?
Oh man, well, I've been working. We've been doing fiberside summer crawls, and I've been outside on my scooter and on my bike, spending lots of time with family. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I've been doing a little bit of knitting. I've been paying bills and answering emails. That never ends. But Mario and I got to go on a beautiful holiday this summer too.
Where'd you go?
2 weeks in BC, and we picked up on a cruise and went up to Alaska and back, and it was wonderful.
Nice.
We really appreciated having the time to be unplugged away from phones and emails. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So we hope that you're getting some time outside as well. And in our little intro here, we thought we'd let you know that what's coming up today is a tour of a beautiful yarn shop in Edmonton, another one.
A new yarn shop.
Yeah. She opened up during COVID, but of course, you know, during COVID, everything takes a little bit longer to get running. So we're going to go and take a visit with Tammy from Numana Yarns. But before that, we wanted to give you a little update on some of the things that are coming up this month and next month, because we've been building a gorgeous fall schedule of online activities.
Yarniversity curriculum.
Yes. But before we get to that, you told me that you weren't doing as much knitting now as before. What's going on?
Well, I did a lot of knitting, and I did I did this project on my machine.
Oh, so tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is an easy folded poncho that I did out of cotton linen lace.
I love it. It's really beautiful.
I had these 2 skeins from Trailhead Yarns, and they were really lightweight lace.
Yeah.
And I did them on a Singer 360 machine that my friend Penny lent to me.
Nice.
And I had some of this, I don't know if you remember, Blue Moon fibers.
Yes.
They had some beautiful boucle, and this is tencel.
Oh.
So I tried doing a fair isle pattern on the edge.
Yes.
And then there's some picots here.
And you did this on your machine?
On my machine. And the machine, you know, started out okay, but then it didn't like this boucle.
Oh,
it's thin
jammed
and thick.
up a bit?
So I stopped right about here, and then I just kept on going with the plain cotton linen, and because it's hand painted, I think it went really well with this boucle edging. Anyways, this little piece is so versatile. I'm telling you, I wore it on the plane, I wore it on the ship, I wore it outside, I wore it inside. It was great. So nice little summer cover up. Yeah.
So it's an easy folded poncho done on your machine in a boucle and
cotton linen
lace combo.
Yeah.
Like 1 row of each yarn sort of thing? Or did you hold 2 together?
No, I did not hold 2 together. This was done fair isle.
Okay.
So you can see the back of it.
Yeah.
That's the back, and you can see the big nubs.
Yeah.
And then it made this pattern. So I did, okay, I forget now.
Looks like 2 by 2, 2 of each. Two stitches in one color, 2 stitches in the other.
Correct.
Yeah. And then the body of it, did you blend the yarns by striping, or?
No, this is just how it came off the skein.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Isn't that nice?
It's so coordinated.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gorgeous.
I think the colorway was called Garbage Can. She has such great names for her yarns.
Oh, that's lovely. So the easy folded poncho is designed by Churchmouse Yarns and Tea, and I'm guessing you cast on more stitches than they would recommend in the pattern.
Yeah.
Because it's meant for a DK weight yarn, right?
Yeah. It was, and I can't remember how many. I've got it written down at home. I'll put notes on my Ravelry page.
Yeah, well, I think the tip for people is, if you want to make an easy folded poncho with a different yarn, a thinner yarn or a thicker yarn, you just have to calculate how many stitches to cast on.
Exactly.
And you would do that with a
swatch. Yeah. I mean, swatch is everything, right? Right. We've really learned that, I feel, over the last 3 years, that it's really come home, and it's true that you need that little swatch. And once you have that little swatch, it tells you so much information from what that garment's going to end up looking like and draping like, as well as how many stitches to cast on and how many rows.
And it doesn't matter, right? If you're machine knitting or hand knitting or crocheting, right?
It does not matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really nice, Barb. Thank you. I'm wearing another Church Mouse Yarns and Tea design. This is a shoulder cozy that my sister knit for me.
Yes, so cute.
Yeah. This one's made out of Sarah tweed. Yeah. And I think there's a strand of maybe
Kid Silk Haze in
there. Okay.
Or else Shabui.
Yep. She made it for me a while ago, but it's perfect for summer because I can have my little sleeveless top under here, but still have a shoulder cozy for when it's a little breezy or
isn't it nice?
Air conditioned.
Yeah.
All right.
And you had asked how I hurt myself.
Yeah.
Like why I couldn't knit, and it was because I hurt myself. I had a neck injury a long time ago, and I think all the machine knitting and then maybe some lifting of some boxes re-injured my neck a little bit. So every time, Cynthia, I went to go like this to knit, I'd get this sharp pain up my arm and then into my shoulder and neck.
Yes.
And so I had to stop.
Yeah.
Although I did knit a pair of socks while I was on vacation.
You knit a pair of socks on the cruise? Nice. So tell me about those.
Well, just, like 2 minutes at a time because I had to keep stopping. I think I have them here in my bag. Let me just grab my bag. Are they in here? Oh, this was something else that I knit too. So this really.
Tell me about this.
Really started to knit. My granddaughter started to knit this summer. She said, "Grandma, would you teach me how?" And I went, "Absolutely." I was so thrilled that she wanted to learn how to knit. And so we went downstairs and picked out patterns, and there was a Susan B. Anderson book called Itty Bitty Toys.
Yes.
Do you remember that
I
one?
have that book, yes.
So Rayleigh saw this snake, and she said, "Oh, can we make this?" I said, "Sure." So we got her started going.
Did she make this?
No, I made that.
Oh, okay.
And so she made one, I made one, and then Sabrina had to make one too because
of course.
She loves. Isn't it fun?
Yes.
So that was some fun knitting.
And so it looks like you might have used a little bit of a self-striping sock yarn in a worsted weight. Yeah. And then maybe some Eden. Looks like this is Eden in here. So did you just keep using leftover yarns?
Yeah, mostly Eden. And this one was double-stranded hat trick. Hand painted.
Yes.
Let me hang on to you for a sec.
You bet.
I'm going to grab
She's
my
leaning
bag.
over to grab something. There we go.
All right. And this is my...
It's adorable.
Again, do you remember Blue Moon? I'm using up all my stash. So look at these.
Aww. Hold those a little closer to the camera.
These are a pair of socks.
Those are adorable. Down a bit. There we go. Oh.
I think this is our sock pattern.
Yeah? Or you just
socks?
Made it up in your head. Yeah. That is so cute, Barb.
Aren't those sweet?
So are these for anyone in particular, or you just...
No. And I was hoping to get these done. I did... So I can cast on and knit about 2 rows, and then I have to stop.
Right. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know. It's really cramping my style.
Yeah.
But I think if I give myself some time, it'll all come back.
Yeah.
So I made actually another pair of these, and one... I gave the other pair to Lori.
Oh, that was nice. Your friend Lori.
Yeah.
Lori the denturist. Yes. That's lovely, Barb. And what size needle did you use for these ones?
3.5.
Okay. Nice. And what else have you got there?
And then this is just a sock. I think I was working on this the last time we podcasted.
Oh. Is this a self-striping sock yarn?
Yeah, this is from Earth.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And these are custom. They fit my foot perfectly.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. That's lovely. Look at those pretty colors.
Yeah, sock number 2.
Very good.
So that's it for me.
Okay.
And I'm looking for, remedies for neck injuries. So
hot packs, ice packs, medications.
I was thinking more like gin and tonic massages.
Yes.
Hot stone massages or something like that.
Oh, that sounds really good.
I tried acupuncture.
Did you?
On the ship.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Oh. Okay. A lot of people swear by it. Yeah.
I know they do. Look what happened.
Oh, ouch.
See that bruise?
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. Well, at least you tried it.
I tried it.
Maybe you just need to try a different acupuncturist.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
that's really nice.
That was it. That's
okay,
mine.
well,
Now tell me all about yours.
I'm proud of you and a little concerned that you're injured, but good on you for not, for still keeping it up, but not pushing it.
Yeah, no.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see
your body tells you.
Yes.
When
I might sneeze. My body's telling me something about being outdoors.
That's right. You had allergic reactions. We had a fair amount of smoke this summer.
We did.
The forest fires.
Yeah. Oh, well, so I'm going to tell you about something I finished, and it's sort of in line with something that's still ongoing. So for the month of August, we're still doing Fiberside Summer Crawl, and this has been so much fun. We want you all to know that Barb and I are going to be appearing on the Fiberside Summer Crawl on Sunday, August 13th. So we definitely want you to tune in and cheer us on, say hello in the chat. We'll be telling you about all of the upcoming events that are happening at Yarniversity, Yarniversity Yarns.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll be sharing with you some of a new instructor. It's a secret, right?
No, we're going to talk about it today. Yeah,
okay.
Yep. But before we do that, I've been working on my Wonky Blocks blanket.
You got to show me because I haven't seen this for weeks.
Yes, and I'll give you a bigger picture of it in a minute, but look at this.
Gosh, look at this. Okay, we have to look at it from one corner to the other because this is beautiful.
Well, this is 49 blocks. It's a 7x7, and I think it's kind of like a nice lap blanket size. What would you say?
Yeah. It's a perfect lap blanket, or you could put it over a crib. It could go on a stroller.
Or like a car blanket, right, if you've got kids in the car. This one is made with mostly non-superwash yarn, so it will need to be hand washed. So I don't think it's going to end up as a baby blanket.
Right.
But I can kind of see it on the back of my easy chair, in the wintertime, put it on my lap, keep myself warm and cozy. And this one's crocheted.
How did you join the squares?
So this is using a technique in crochet called the flat slip stitch, and you end up picking up one bar from each. You pick up one bar from this one, and then one bar from that one, and then one bar from that one, and one bar from this one. So you're always alternating sides, kind of like mattress stitch, but there's a single crochet in between.
Right.
And so that's how you do it, and then it lays flat right on top to create this little window pane look. And then I put a little double crochet border around the edge.
Nice.
So these are diamonds alternated with squares. It gives it kind of that wonky shape.
Now what's this one? Because this feels amazingly soft.
Oh, so this is alpaca. This is from Mirasol. Yeah. And then this is
double-stranded?
No, single-stranded.
Oh.
And then this is Nepal.
Oh.
This is double-stranded sock yarn. And this is double-stranded sport weight yarn that I got at Numana Yarns, where we're going after this intro. Yeah.
Did you pick up anything at Yarn Divas?
There isn't anything from Yarn Divas here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this looks like Numana.
That is Numana as well. Yeah. I got two colorways that I wanted to go with this gray and the sort of taupe that I had in Nepal. And then the rest of them are all just double-stranded sock yarns or triple-stranded in some cases, that I used together. I used a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. I wanted the squares to be bigger.
Beautiful. And did you use your wooden furl?
Yeah, I did.
How was that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It's great. So I've got enough blocks to do another blanket.
Oh, nice.
I just didn't want to make it huge. Sewing it together can be well, a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yep.
And then,
Yep.
you know, it's nicer too if you have two of them that are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
You can put them together if you want.
Yeah.
You can just even, you know, put one on your feet and up to your waist, and then the other one. Yeah.
So come and join us for the Fiberside Summer Crawl. That's going on for the month of August until August 20th will be the last one. And again, we're going to be online on August the 13th. We'd love to see you there.
Well, and they're all recorded, right? So you
are.
can go back and watch the old ones.
Yep.
So it's never too late to sign up.
Absolutely.
And how many stores again?
So there's 4 each week. So there's an event on August the 6th, which is yesterday. And then there's one on the 13th and one on the 20th. So that's 8 more stores for you to see. And then we've been doing this since July, I think July 7th was the first one. So yeah, there's lots to see.
Probably about 20 stores that have already recorded.
Yeah. And they've all been delightful.
Yes.
So definitely come out for it.
You really see the store's personality.
Yeah.
You know, they have 15 minutes to kind of show you the best of what they have to offer.
Yeah.
And it's a great way of, I think you called it, it's like, you know, social dating. It's like
speed dating.
Speed dating.
For your local yarn shops. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I have one more FO, Barb. We had told you about, I think in our last news, or in one of our earlier newsletters, we talked about Tin Can Knits having an app.
Yes.
And so I made a pair of mittens. Using the app. I really, really like it. They've been lots of fun. This is a yarn that I picked up in Wales when I was there.
Wow. So you're using Upstash too?
I am. And then I made a pair of mittens for Hayden. And instead of making a mitten top on it, we discussed the design considerations. We just made it long enough that when he wants to, he can unfold the top and it'll cover his fingers. But most of the time it's going to be a fingerless mitten.
And that way he can still have a finger out if he needs to text or anything.
Nice, nice long cuff so he can put it on under his coat, then slip his hand in. He's got his fingers free so he can zip up his winter coat.
Does it cover his little thumb?
No, so the thumb is going to be, it sticks out about that much. But then when you unfurl this one, it covers his fingers.
Right.
But he can slip his thumb back inside the mitten if he wants to. So I've finished a pair for him, and now
is adorable.
I'm working on a pair for Rachel.
I think you have to write a pattern for that.
You know what? It's just the Tin Can Knits world's simplest mittens, except that when you get to the hand part, you just switch to ribbing, and you don't stop until it's tall enough to fit the hand that goes underneath it.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, complete nice adaptation. And so I just wanted to send a shout out to our friends Alexa and Emily at Tin Can Knits and say thank you. I think that app is really cool, and we hope that you have really good success with it.
And it's easy to download too.
Yeah.
Right? You just go to your phone or to Tin Can Knits and click on it. It downloads right to your phone. And you got it. And I think it's loaded with 7 or 8 patterns.
9 free patterns. And I think they're going to add more. That's the rumor. And I think maybe any patterns that you've purchased on Ravelry may at some time in the future show up in there. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the case. So that's really good. I think they're doing really creative things, and we just love their work. We love their patterns, and so we just wanted to say thank you and let you know that it's working out really well. So 5 stars.
Great.
And then, speaking of 5 stars, we just got this in the mail.
I know, I can hardly
We
wait.
haven't even looked at it. So this one's...
I haven't even cracked the cover yet, but I've looked through all the patterns on the electronic version.
Yes. So we want to invite you to join us for this knit-along that we're having. This is a book written by Katie Noseworthy. She's a Newfoundlander mom and designer, and she's made this gorgeous book. It opens up nice and flat. You don't even need coil binding on this one.
Wow.
It's done really well. And look at these patterns. I can't decide what I'm going to work on first, although I've been...
I know what I'm going to make.
Going through my stash. Which one are you going to make first?
The little overalls. I had a...
Dress.
I had that bookmarked on my electronic copy.
Yeah, we had an advanced kind of sneak peek at the book.
And I got to make this too because, oh my God,
Isn't that adorable? That's the little hat. Is that called Wisp? I think Pixie.
Pixie.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that cute?
Are these the overalls you want to do?
Yes, those are them. Oh my gosh, I even bought the same yarn.
Did you?
Didn't she use
This one, she used Biscotte Yarns DK Pure.
No, I bought the one from Anna Hunter.
Ah, yes. Yep. Yep. This is adorable. Yeah.
Those are them.
Yeah.
Can't you just see a little baby in that?
I know. No, you don't have any babies in your life, do you? So what are you going to do with your overalls?
I'm just going to donate them. We have a beautiful charity here called
Basically Babies?
Basically Babies. I was going to say Blossoming Babies. Basically Babies. And it's right close to where our shop was. I would drop off things with them all the time. But they filled together little baskets for people who have had new babies. And it includes everything for the baby for the first year. So it's so nice because you can have little outfits all the way through your first year. And a lot of folks are really in need of that kind of thing. Yeah. And they so appreciate hand work. Yeah. So I think it's a great.
I think I have to do this one.
Oh my gosh, isn't that cute? That's the cover one.
It is, yeah. I've got some yarns that I've been collecting, and I think I need to do that. And
would you do it out of merino?
Well, I'm gonna. You know what? Yeah, I would. Yeah, and or you know what? I might do one for Basically Babies as well, and I'll probably pick up a nice superwash merino, something that's machine washable.
It's easy care.
Yeah, yeah. I have some from Ancient Arts, some beautiful yarn that I was eyeballing for this sweater, and then some from Yarn Therapist. So that might come in handy too. So we want you guys to join us. We're doing a knit along with Katie. Let me just show you how cute this designer is. There's Katie right there. She's going to join us online 2 days. September, let's see, I think it's September 9th and 30th, but let me look and make sure I've got those dates right.
While Cynthia's looking at that, I just wanted to let you know that those little overalls that I'm making in the book, Katie used Biscotte DK. And Cynthia and I saw that when we were in Montreal. And it looks like a really nice yarn too. Yeah. So if you're having a hard time finding a yarn, I think Biscotte DK would be a great one because I think she only used 2 skeins. I'll double check.
For the overalls, it might only be 1. All the yarns that Katie uses are very accessible yarns, and you can find them in your local yarn shop, or you can order directly from the dyer in a lot of cases. And she uses a lot of Canadian companies as well. And the dates are September 9th and 30th. The knit along is free. You just need to buy the book, and we've got a discount code for you as well. So check the link in the show notes below, and we'll direct you to the page where you can get all that information.
Looks like, just to follow up, she used just over 1 skein.
Okay.
1 skein's 260 yards, or 238 meters. It's 115 grams. And she used, for the smallest size, 306 yards. Okay. So just a little bit more.
Yeah. Skein and a half. You have enough left over for a tiny hat to go with it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and then we want to get you on to the tour that we're taking with Numana, so we'll just give you an update on some of the other things that are happening. Barb is bursting to tell you about another designer that we've added to our roster of excellent instructors at Yarniversity. So who's coming up, Barb?
Yeah, well, Cynthia and I bumped into Bristol Ivy at Knit City, Montreal. Bristol's taught in our store when we had the store. And Cynthia and I have both traveled long distances to see Bristol and to take classes from Bristol. We really love her. She has such an incredible mind. And not only is she mathematical, but she's got this whole thing about shapes and you know, and ways to put things together. Yeah. And so she's going to come and teach a series of classes for us, not just one, but a whole series.
We've set up 4 classes with Bristol, and then our friend Gwen asked me if we could maybe arrange a 5th class, and so Bristol and I are talking dates for another class that's very cool. So you can see it on the website. We'll just tell you that this coming month in September, we've got Bristol coming to do, I believe it's an introduction to Intarsia. I'm just going to check here. Yes, on September 15th, Bristol will be doing a 3-hour class called Intro to Intarsia. We've got her coming to do other color work, other textured stitches, and shawl class. They're all 3 hours long, and they're on the website, and they are all recorded. So if you can't make it on the Friday, if you can't get time off work, no worries, you can catch up.
Call in sick.
Yes.
Honestly, you know, to see Bristol and to see her live is really the best way, because you can ask her specific questions.
Yes, yes.
And Tarsha's not that easy to do. You know,
it's not. It's color work, and it requires yarn management. And Bristol's going to talk about how to read charts. She's going to tell you about how to manage your floats, or there's no floats. How to manage the twists in the yarn, and
where those two colors join. You know, you always need to twist it. But you know, I think Bristol's got one of those ways of explaining things too, that is very logical, and she's brings a ton of samples, so you can see so many different things that she's made using that technique.
And she's patient and kind. She's very gentle, you know, and funny. So definitely come and join us for that. We also have Ann Budd returning. She's going to be teaching a skirt class on August 30th. I love skirts.
Yes.
Knitted skirts are the best. And Ann's method will have you make a custom fit skirt. So it's going to look fabulous on you. And we've put a little hashtag out on our website that the knitted skirts are the new sweatpants. They're so comfortable to wear.
Plus, they look really good. You know, I can't tell you how thrilled I was with my first skirt, because I thought, no, but you know, when you put on a pair of leotards, or you can wear them with boots or some really cool shoes that you might have, they look amazing.
Or hand knit knee highs. We have Kate Atherley coming back to do a class on knee highs.
I don't think I'd wear those, but
with your skirt,
I think I might wear thigh highs.
Well, you can make them thigh high if you want to, but you know what the secret is, Barb? You put on the leotards and then the socks.
Oh, I see.
And that way you have a very smooth silhouette on your leg. You know, if you got any knee issues, don't worry about it. But they keep your legs warm in the wintertime.
They're going to add another ½ inch to your leg circumference.
No, you make it you use a fingering weight yarn, honestly.
Make them really tight?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, if they would turn out like spandex, I'd give them a try.
Kate's method will help you. If you have a favorite sock pattern, she'll explain to you how to make it longer. So even if you don't want to wear it with your skirt, you can wear them. You can wear them with.
It's a great idea. I think they'd be great inside a tall boot too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And just inside the legs of your pants in the wintertime, or if you go skiing, wear them skiing. But I think that I love knee highs because they're more comfortable. They're not too tight around your ankle. I think they make your leg look really shapely, and so I think you should wear them with pride. Just stay away from the horizontal patterning ones. You
just have to have a shapely leg to begin with, like you do.
With your skirts, they'll be perfect.
I can see you rolling around in the snow.
With my knee-high socks. So that's coming up as well.
Warmer climate in winter this year.
Well, I encourage everyone to check out the knee-high class with Kate Atherley. We're going to have a ton of fun. And again, you can either make a pair of knee-highs directly from her pattern, or you can convert your favorite sock pattern into knee-highs.
I mean, I suppose there's a few people out there who have Highland dancers in their family.
Absolutely.
Or men with kilts.
Yeah.
Now there's an idea. You could make a custom Scottish, kilt sock.
Yeah. Or well, my grandson Hayden loves knee-high socks. He wears them in the summertime with his shorts. He looks like a little old man.
Oh, that's
he's
cute.
Adorable, and he likes them.
Can you send me pictures?
We'll see. So that's coming up. And so we've got Ann Budd, we've got Bristol Ivy, we've got Kate Atherley, and Holly Yo is coming to do her first sweater class in September.
Oh, nice.
If you've never knit a sweater before, or if you've knit a sweater but you struggled with seaming, or you struggled with buttonholes, or you wanted to understand...
Make the sleeves bigger.
Yeah.
Add a collar.
The first sweater class is a modified drop shoulder sweater. It's designed for a baby because we want you to be successful in keeping up with the homework. And you're going to learn all the things that you need to learn to create a beautifully constructed sweater. So it's knit flat, seamed together. If you talk to a designer, you're going to hear that most designers prefer this type of sweater to the top-down seamless kind because it provides more structure. So it's doable knitting. You can use stash yarn, that's no problem. Holly's going to introduce a little color option for you to make it trimmed out nicely. And you're going to learn how to do a sweater from a designer who has
over 20 years experience.
Yeah, and she likes her sweaters to look good. So she's going to tell you how to make it tailored. And you can take her advice or not. She's not going to judge you if you decide that, you're not going to take the time to pin it just so. But she's going to show you all those tips and tricks, guys. If you've never knit a sweater before or you want to get better at sweater knitting, take First Sweater with Holly Yo.
That's how I started too, Cynthia, was with a baby sweater. And I even remember Isabel Kramer. I was in one of her classes and she had us do a little baby sweater. It was sweet. You know, she had a special way of knitting the shoulders on. And, with short rows. And it was the cutest baby sweater ever. And then you could donate that too to a charity or put it on a small doll or a teddy bear or something that you've got at home if you don't have little ones.
And then you're resuming the Machine Knitters meetups.
I am. On September the 10th, we have a Machine Knitters group meeting. And I have a group of machine knitters who have been knitting along with me from our first time that we bought knitting machines together. And now we're opening up the group. So if anybody has a manual machine, you're welcome to join us now. We're going to...
Oh, even if it's not an LK 150?
I think so, because, really they are very, very similar. Phone me or email me and we'll chat about it. But anything except electronic machines or machines with ribbers, we don't do a lot of discussion about the ribber because the LK 150 doesn't have that. But there's lots of other courses and groups out there. The thing about this is that everybody who comes out to these sessions are super interested in machine knitting. And they've done a lot of research on their own and found some great resources. So it's a super group to get involved with because they share things there. And I'm going to do a demo each month on a different sort of machine knitting tip.
Perfect. So there's going to be kind of like a loose curriculum attached to it.
And yet lots of social. So we go around the room too and everybody gets a chance to show what they've been making.
Perfect.
In fact, I'm going to send you a photo and I hope that you pop it in here. My friend Penny has been working on these Sew As You Go socks using Cascade Heritage sock yarn. It's a patterning sock yarn. Cynthia, they're just beautiful.
Oh, nice.
And she did them on her LK 150.
For sure. Send me the pictures. We'll pop them in here and show you all Penny's socks. That's lovely. And then speaking of meetups, our Makers Meetup begins again on September 11th.
Yay.
We took a break over the summer while we were doing the Fiberside Summer Crawl. So we're going to be very excited to welcome everybody back to our regular Monday meetup. Everyone's welcome. There's no charge. Barb and I host the event and we keep the conversation not moderated, just organized. Everyone's very kind and thoughtful, and so we're looking forward to seeing you all again and welcoming new members to come out and join us.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Everybody likes to have an opportunity to show off what they've been doing, right? We work really hard at what we're doing. And we love to see what you're doing. So if you're looking for someone to appreciate your hand knits, that's us. We love that. And the whole group does.
And then we've also had this great partnership with Longmont Yarn Shop in Longmont, Colorado. They organize and host the Fiberside Chats, and they're going to be back. This summer break is over. Stephen West is coming.
He's kicking it off.
He is on September the 10th. You can get information about the event, the Fiberside Chats, on our website. And there's a link to the registration on Longmont's website. So you will register through Longmont. We appreciate it if you choose River City Yarns or Yarniversity by River City Yarns as your local yarn shop. We get a little bit of the ticket price from that, and we'll be there with you every week or every 2 weeks when the Fiberside Chats come to listen to. There's a great lineup for the fall. Marie Green's going to be back. There's a designer named Lotte Lothgren who's coming. And so, you know, we get to find out about designers that we didn't know, because this pool of yarn shops recommends kind of like the speakers for each of the Fiberside Chats. And so we get to see so many recommended designers that we probably wouldn't have known about otherwise. So come and join us.
A lot of them bring special techniques in too, don't they?
Yeah. So I think Stephen West is going to talk about his upcoming mystery knit-along. And his MCALs are so popular. So this will be a nice kickoff for that.
Now, are we going to be listed on Longmont's website as River City Yarns or as Yarniversity?
Well, today, as we're filming this, we will be River City Yarns. But I will ask them if they can change it to Yarniversity / River City Yarns. Maybe that'll work, because we know we're in the progress of changing our name everywhere, and it's going to take a while before we find all the spots.
Right.
Hey?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, we put a lot of thinking into our fall curriculum, but we want to invite you, if you have specific topics that you'd like to know more about, email us. Send us an email. Let us know what you're struggling with, what you think is missing out there for curriculum. Cynthia and I have a lot of experience, and we think that we could probably pull something together for you.
All right. So, Barb, I think we better sign off here and take everybody. Come with us. We're going to go over to Numana Yarns in East Edmonton, and we're going to see her lovely shop and her dye studio. All right?
Okay. We're here today with Tammy.
Hi.
Tammy Bilsma from Numana Yarns. Tammy, tell us a little bit about your store. How long have you been in business?
So I opened up my website on September 1st, 2020.
2020, during the pandemic.
During the pandemic. This is a pandemic child. And then I moved here into the retail / dye studio location in April of last year and opened up in May of last year.
Wow.
So it's just been over just a year.
Right. So the pandemic was sort of done, and you decided that you needed more room, more space, and therefore
I needed a lot more room.
A lot more room.
A lot more room.
So today we're standing in the retail area of your shop where you've got an amazing assortment of colors. Can you give us a little tour?
Yeah,
of
for
this
sure.
Section?
So usually when people come into the store, the first thing that I point out is that my sock yarn collection is extensive. The sock yarn lovers found me first. And so now what I've done is every time I bring out a new colorway, it comes on the sock yarn.
Right.
So every active colorway that I have is on the sock yarn.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So this is your kind of like test base.
Yeah, it's I guess it's like my full palette. Yeah.
And I see, you know, you do a real range of variegated speckles and semi-solids in practically every colorway, it looks like.
Pretty much. I still have more in my head.
Wow.
I just dyed colorway number 372 last week.
Wow. And you're keeping recipes for each and every one of
For
these?
most of them. Some of them are no dye left behind or one-of-a-kind colorways. So they still get a number. They just don't get a recipe. because I sometimes don't even know what's in it.
Yeah.
So
those are fun ones to have too, aren't they? They're like sort of like little treasures. Yeah. Never to be repeated exactly again.
Yeah, and some people just fall in love with them and they're online and then they're gone. Yeah. And they're a great way to also just play around with some different colors too.
Yeah, and get a sense of what you like.
And different techniques. So usually if I'm like, I just wonder what'll happen if I do this. Yeah. I'll try it on a no dye left behind.
On a sock yarn base, yeah.
Well, not necessarily on a sock yarn, but for that, I use whatever base I feel like for the no dye left behinds. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's just leftover dyes and playing.
Wow.
So
372 colors. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That's a lot.
It is quite a few. So the camera's focusing on the sock yarn, some of the sock yarns, right there.
Okay.
And then if you continue around the corner, both of those end caps are sock yarn. And that other full wall there is sock yarn.
This one here?
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Okay, so we go from the autumn kind of shades, I'll say, to a more cool blue-green palette and purples.
Some greens.
And some greens over here.
And then some brights.
And you've got the neons and the hot colors.
Well, this one is the most popular colorway.
This one here?
Yeah.
What's this one called?
It's called Hyper Colored. I have sold so much of that.
Wow.
When I dye it up now, I dye like, most of these I dye 4 to 8 at a time.
Yeah.
That one I might do a full 32 on different bases.
Wow.
So, like, or 32, 32, maybe even more. Just depending. If I've got a show or something coming up, I'll make sure I got lots of that in stock.
Have you seen what people are making with your yarns and your colors, in particular this one? What are they?
Oh, that one I've seen sweaters and hats and shawls and socks.
You name it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just having a peek back here. Mm-hmm. So this is also the same base back here?
No, so back here against the wall, I have the different bases. So this particular rack is all fingering weight, plus a little bit of super bulky down below because I had to fit it somewhere.
Sure.
So I've got 100% merino. I've got merino with silver or gold stellina. I've got merino cashmere nylon. I've got, feel this base here.
Oh.
That is the 17 micron. It's super, super soft.
So 100% superwash merino, just a very high quality.
Just a very, very fine micron. Mm. Yeah, because most of the other merino is about a 21 to 22 micron.
Yeah.
This is 17, so it's just, so soft.
It is beautiful, and I love that twist on it too. Yeah. It probably wears really, really well. This one's called
Broadmoor. That's the base name. I've got that in fingering, sport, and worsted.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I have some merino and silk, and some merino, yak, and silk.
Want to see one of these?
Yeah. Which one is that?
So
that's Woodbridge sock.
Yeah, that's got 10% or 20% cashmere, depending on which base it is.
This one's 80-10-10.
One with the stellina in it.
Sure.
That one will show up nice.
So talk about.
Oh, this one's okay. This one's called Amesbury Fingering Silver. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got a silver stellina in it, 16%, and then 84% superwash merino. Mm-hmm.
So the fun thing about that base is that it doesn't speckle well.
Yeah.
The speckles tend to run along the stellina and change the color altogether. So,
but this would be great to mix with a speckle, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah,
this would be lovely to create some contrast, some color work.
Yeah, and then I've also got a silk and linen base too. I just brought that in, so I've just got it in fingering right now, but I will be bringing it in other weights as well.
65 silk, 35 linen. Oh, that's going to be a beautiful summer top, hey?
Yeah.
Nice. More stellina here. Yeah, oh boy. This will appeal to all the glitter girls.
I find that the glitter doesn't sell as well online, but it sells great in person.
Yeah.
Because the online, you just can't see the effect of the sparkles. It's just a flat picture, right?
Right, yeah.
Whereas in person, you can see the glitter happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you have down here?
So down here, I have my sport bases. Everybody asks me if I have DK. I do not have DK. I have sport.
Oh, that's fantastic, because we had such a hard time getting sport weight yarn.
Yeah.
So that,
and the worsted weights, and I've got like some single ply worsted. So a little of everything.
Let's take a few of these and just show our folks how beautifully these would go together. There's just a little blue palette. This was so easy to pick. Love the fact that you've got them all displayed so nicely here. Cynthia's favorite color is purple. She loves that. What do you think, Cynthia? Little sport weight yarn.
Yeah. Big thumbs up. Yeah.
Beautiful. Did I get those back in the right spot?
Yeah, I'll check after too.
Okay.
So.
Love that. Yeah. So what inspires you, Tammy? I mean, this 375 colors. This is like nuts. But like,
so I just find I like playing with color.
Yeah.
So I have a background. When I was just out of high school, I went to Olds College for their fashion merchandising program, which I don't think they have anymore.
Okay.
And we got to play with color all the time. Right? We learned color theory, all of that stuff. We weren't dyeing yarn. We did learn about all the various fibers, though. So, you know, I learned about the properties of wool versus cotton versus linen, etc.
Yeah.
Silk. So I did have that knowledge. I mean, it's very old,
Yeah.
but it's still there. I don't know, it stayed. So
that's where you got excited.
That's where I got started with the color, and then. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of natural intuition too that goes with it. You just have a feeling of what colors will go nicely together. So
fantastic. Well, I know you're going to share a little bit more with us, because we're going to actually go into your dye studio next, right? So yeah, I'm interested in knowing how you put all those colors together.
I can show you that. Yeah, I get that question asked a lot. How do I come up with all these colors, and how do I know what I'm going to get?
Yeah, and you've got Fosbury lace. Ooh, tell us about this one.
So this is 100% merino, and it's the lace weight. So I know some people hate lace weight because it takes so long to make anything.
Unless you have a knitting machine.
Yes, but it's so pretty, right?
It's so pretty.
And then if you hold it with something like a mohair or a strand of that glitter, you know, with the sequins and stuff. Yeah. You know, it makes it a little thicker, a little easier to work with.
Or double strand.
Or double strand it, yeah.
I have some of this from you that I got at Gathering Threads.
Yeah.
And I haven't played with it yet. I think it needs maybe a strand of something else with it. So, any recommendations?
It depends on what your project is, right? So, yeah. I don't have any mohair in the shop because I have an allergy to it.
Okay.
So I'd probably suggest maybe looking at mohair if mohair's for you, or
it'd be nice to keep it in the same sort of family,
like a dark purple or something.
Yeah,
blue.
like maybe another color of the same base. That would be lovely.
Yeah. So I am very interested. So this is a single ply. I am a spinner. I keep having ideas that I should try taking several strands of this and actually plying them together and see what happens.
Yes.
I just haven't done it yet.
Right, yeah. So this one is a single, and this is called Hawthorn lace?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, so my single plies are all the Hawthorn base.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got some super bulky down there in the 2-ply.
And your Hawthorn fingering.
Yeah.
Nice. These are great for hats or mitts or... Well, you do such a pretty job with purples and pinks. Well, all the colors really, but is this sort of your love? Is this kind of where you start?
So my favorite is blues and greens and purples.
Okay.
Pretty much like
This
that.
one, yeah.
And so that's for me to wear personally. However, I find I really like dyeing neutrals, even though I never wear neutrals.
Is that right?
Yeah. Like I love dyeing this one up.
Yeah.
I love the colors in that. But I don't wear them.
You don't wear them.
Which, well, fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
the one color I have difficulty with dyeing is yellow. I don't know why. I just have a little bit of a block when it comes to yellow.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I do have some yellows in some of my colorways, but it is a little bit of a block.
Well, and I think that's understandable. You know, I think yellow for a lot of people is a hard color to wear.
It's a little bit of a difficult color for dyeing, too, because it's such a weak color that every other color takes over in the dye pan.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas a blue, it will change anything that it comes into contact with. Yellow, it'll just succumb to every color. It's just like, okay, no, I'm green now. Right?
That's really funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Some really key components. You know, no rinse soap is so critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that you're carrying the soak line.
Well, and it's nice too, like I think a lot of people think hand washing only for their knitwear, but you can use it for anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you can use it for, like this doesn't have any lanolin in it, so you can use it for your swimwear. I like to take some of that when I go traveling.
Yeah.
You know, you need to wash something in the sink at the hotel or whatever.
Yeah,
lingerie. We went to Italy for 3 weeks. Well, we were washing things in the sink.
Yes.
So yeah, it was really great to have hand wash stuff with us. And then all of these are actually made by one of my customers. She loves to just put these together when she's watching TV or
so
visiting
these are
friends.
local?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So I don't know, have you ever used one of these row counters?
I have actually.
They're pretty awesome.
Aren't they cool? The way that, you just stick it onto your stitch depending on what row you're on or what stitch you're on.
I love them for socks because, you know, you need to keep track very carefully of how many rows you have to make your sock the right length. And so I always put a pin in for every 10 rows.
It's a great idea
for that.
Oh, I see fiber here.
Yes. So I have some spinning fiber. I have 100%, they're all superwash. I have 100% merino, 50-50 merino and silk, and then an 80-20 merino and cashmere.
Wow.
And you'll actually see some of the cashmere in a bump that I'm taking apart in the back.
Oh, okay.
So, because I have to separate it.
I do have a soft spot for that.
Well, it's so soft.
And you've got a line of books. That's really nice.
And then this is the no dye left behind and one-of-a-kind colorways. So one-of-a-kind colorways are things that maybe I grabbed the wrong color of dye or something happened in the dye process that it's not coming out the way that it's supposed to come out. So they get marked up as a one-of-a-kind. No dye left behind is some colorways I just apply the dye, and if there's any left over, it's not being used. So like a lace weight, I tend to use a little more dye. A worsted weight, I tend to use a little less dye because there's less surface area, right? Yeah. On a heavier weight of yarn. So what I do is I put all the green dyes in one container, all the purple dyes in one container, all the blue dyes in one container. And then when I get inspired, I throw them onto some yarn.
Nice.
Or onto some fiber.
So it's another way of staying a little more environmentally friendly too then, right?
Yeah.
So ensuring that dye doesn't go down the drain and using it up.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
So
then
I've got
here?
Lots of minis. I find minis sell quite well.
Yes.
Most of them are tonals. I am starting to bring in some of the other colorways. The hard part is with those, so like these guys, these solid guys, I can dye 5 at a time, right? These guys I have to dye 20 to 23 at a time.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
But I am starting to bring in more of the colorways. This was the last contest at Gathering Threads. It's called Witch's Bellini. So, and then I have a sale rack as well. I've discontinued some colors and some color-based combinations. So, those are 20% off while they last.
Nice. All right, so this is kind of the last section here. What's in this section?
So this is non-superwash for the first 4 rows, and then bulky on the bottom row. Yeah. So this is just a regular 21 to 22 micron non-superwash, but feel the difference between those.
Oh yeah.
So this is a 19 micron.
Yeah.
And this so one? Soft, and that's just 21 to 22. This is a sock yarn. It's got some nylon in it. So
yeah.
I'm super excited to try it out. I'm expecting what's going to happen is the higher wear areas will start to felt a little bit because it is that non-superwash, making the sock overall a little stronger.
So tell us about your decision to bring in non-superwash merino. Why did you do that?
Because I wanted to.
Yeah. And
mostly because I wanted to, yeah. So
this yarn will felt then.
Yeah.
If it's
washed so it has to be water. It has to be treated a little more with tender loving care than superwash.
Are you seeing more requests for non-superwash yarn?
I get some requests for it. Yeah. It is a little different to dye.
Yeah.
So
it's a little tougher to dye, is it not?
Well, you just have to be a little more careful with it. So technically a superwash you can take from the dye pots and wash it right away when it's hot. Technically. I don't, because it's a very steamy process. And in the summer it can get pretty steamy back there, right? So with the non-superwash, it has to be cooled to room temperature before you start washing anything. So you have to also be very careful in the dye pots that you're not, messing around with them a whole bunch. It doesn't really speckle very well. So, yeah.
Tammy, you mentioned you love spinning.
And weaving.
Yeah, and weaving. And I see some wheels here.
Yeah. So I just became an Ashford dealer, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but just with moving in here, there's a lot of expenses and whatever, right? Like, I had to buy a whole bunch of racks and stuff. It's not even yarn stuff. It's just, assorted business stuff.
Yeah.
And so I finally am like, no, I got to bite the bullet and do the Ashford dealership. So I decided to get that. I have, I think, 4 Ashfords at home already. So I'm like, I know they're really good wheels. I have one that's the same age as me and it runs beautifully. So, and I can get parts for it. So I was like, that's a company that has been around for a long time and they've paid attention to making sure that their products can be used for a long time too.
Yes, yeah. Very high quality. Oh, that's fantastic. So if anybody needs Ashford parts or things like that, they can come in.
Yep.
How do they get a hold of you?
So my website is www.numanayarns.com and it's spelled Numana Yarns with an S at the end.
Fantastic. So. That's great. So that's your website?
Yes.
And are you also on Instagram
And
and Facebook?
and it's just at Numana Yarns. Oddly, nobody took that name and I did that on purpose.
Good for you. That's great.
So
okay, where would you like to go next?
Do we want to go to the back?
Sure, let's go. Let's check out the dye studio.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. This is huge back here.
And I didn't clean anything. You guys are seeing everything as a normal work day back here.
Wow. It's nice and cool back here too.
Yeah, give it a couple more days in this heat and it's not going to be. It's up to about 26.5 degrees in here when I'm dyeing and it's hot outside for a few days.
Is that right? Even with all the concrete?
Yeah. So.
Is it nice and warm in the winter too?
Yeah, I've got a heater back here, so it stays nice and warm. It's just the summer can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah,
but what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah. So do we want to do what I typically do for a dye studio tour?
Yeah,
people that were here on Saturday actually got to see some of this, but that's okay.
Show us your day-to-day.
So actually we can talk a little bit more about the Ashford stuff right here.
Okay.
Because it's right here.
Oh, fantastic.
So I have a small display area started with the Ashford stuff. So if people want to play with anything, they certainly can.
Yeah.
I need to bring in some multi-shaft looms still, but we do have a bunch of stuff started back here.
Some nice accessories too. You've got a carding wheel and a board and swifts.
That swift up there that you're just panning up to, that was the thing that I used for the first 1,000 or so skeins.
Wow, you skeined yourself?
I still do.
You still do?
I still do.
Gosh.
And I'll talk about why.
Okay. And then warping boards, those look like they're pretty popular too. Warping paints.
Well, they can be used for just about any type of loom, right? So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are so handy too, especially if you don't have a lot of space. Right?
Yeah. Well, and it's yeah, like if you're warping a rigid heddle and you're doing a really long warp and you live in a small confined space, then having the warping board is nice because you don't have to create this mile-long walk to create your warp.
Would you use it as a dyer as well?
Some do. I don't. Some would use a warping board for making self-striping socks.
Oh,
that's one thing that I don't do. I applaud the people that will do it, but it's not for me.
That's a real labor-intensive project.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. Or they'll use a warping mill, which I don't have one of those. So, yeah. So we'll start out with the yarn. If you want to come around.
All your yarn's coned?
Yes. So all of the yarn comes on these big cones. They're all about 3 pounds or so. We actually do weigh them when they come in, subtracting the weight of the cone so that we know approximately how much is on each one.
Yeah.
I do that for pricing so that I can very closely track my pricing, my actual manufacturing costs on all of the yarn.
So tell me about that, because in the shop we would bring in, yarn generally in balls, and it would, ball band says 100 grams.
Yeah.
We'd weigh it, and it would weigh like 98.
Yeah.
And then after another month, it would weigh 95.
Yeah.
It was like our shelves just kind of sucked
So that's
all
humidity.
The moisture.
That's the humidity.
Okay.
Yeah, because what'll happen is.
Different than meterage.
Well, you think about wool. It will hold about 2 to 2.5 times its weight in water if it's like sopping wet. Obviously, yarn in the shop is not sopping wet, or at least it shouldn't be. If it is, that's something bad just happened. But it will take in humidity from the air, right? So, like honestly, as a trick, sometimes in the summer, because it gets so humid back here, to dry my yarn, I actually will stick it out in the front of the shop overnight.
Sure.
Because I've got all that dry yarn that's just sitting there. This is all in bags, so it's not going to do too much. But all that yarn out there will help absorb some of that humidity. So I use my manufacturer's weight to yardage as a guide, and then we weigh it out from, like when I first get the cones in, I weigh out what is 115 grams, count the number of rotations, and that's what we use.
I see.
So, and I go a little bit over, like I usually try and go for somewhere between 115 and 120 for my grams, just to kind of account for that.
We did that too in yarn we brought in from Peru.
Yeah.
Our ball band says 100 grams, but there's actually 110.
Yeah.
So it was just a kind of a nice thing to ensure that nobody ever ran out.
Yeah.
Nice.
And if I ever have to do like I don't like to do them, but if I ever have to do a join in any of the yarn, because sometimes you'll get a part that's broken or that's just not very nice looking or whatever, and you do have to join, we always add a couple extra rotations so that yarn actually gives you a little extra.
Yeah, that's nice. You can cut it
to make up for that knot. Yeah. So yeah, it comes in, we label them all with the base. All of our bases have a corresponding number to them. That becomes the first part of our SKU. Then we go over to here. Now this is usually my daughter's job.
You've got your family working with you?
Yes, my youngest daughter works here full time. I'm just going to see what base she's got going here. So she has Fosbury worsted. So this is the skeiner. You can see she's already got it started for the next round. We have this little counter that will stop the machine after a certain number of rotations, because as you can imagine, spending all day counting.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, this goes really fast. It does have a counter, but having to focus on that all day would be really hard.
Yes.
We have worked out for every one of our bases how many rotations we need to do.
Okay.
This is where the machine needs to stop at, and this is how many rotations we have to do, because it stops, but it doesn't actually just hard stop the arms.
Right.
It just turns off the motor. So for this one, get it started there. So it whips around really fast. So it stopped at 21. The motor stopped at 21. It's at 26 now, and we have to do, it's been a while since I've done these, 35. So
then you would hand.
Yeah. My daughter likes to have a few more of these than I do. She likes to do more by hand than I do. So we do one section, then we move it over.
Oh.
And we do the next section. I won't bore you with doing the whole skein, but what happens is when all 3 sections are done, we do our figure 8 ties, which are these little guys.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You can see in here. Mm-hmm. And you can see that it stays in 3 very nice sections.
Yeah, so this helps you with the dyeing process.
It does. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of socks where one sock is brighter than the second sock. I suspect it's because most mills, well, I think every mill, they just do it as one continuous loop. And so what you get is the outer threads sitting on top and the inner ones being tighter because they're on the inside. So in the pan, what happens is the color goes on the top. It doesn't necessarily go through to the bottom. This spreads the top and the bottom out across.
Very nice. Yeah.
There's much more even color distribution.
Can you get the mill to do this 3-tie process?
Probably not.
Yeah, so
They'd probably look at me like I was crazy.
Or they'd say, sure, we'll just add a little more to your bill.
Yeah, so they'll do the 3-part figure 8 ties, but they won't, I mean, it makes no difference to me if it's how many figure 8s are in there. We also have a zip tie that has the name. This is my mom's beautiful handwriting. Mine is not that pretty. And the code. So that we know, and it stays like that.
Until you're ready to dye.
Pretty much. They get bagged up in sets of 4, which is what I dye, and they go into the boxes. You can see there's multiple boxes there with labels. And that's where they sit until I'm ready to dye them. We also have this little machine here. You can see it's got a few more pegs.
Yeah.
We use that for minis. So it'll do 5 at a time.
5 at a time. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That really is a nice thing to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
So that's a homemade one. It does have a few challenges associated with it, but
it still is faster than doing them by hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, so. I know Sabrina, my daughter, used to make minis in the shop, and she'd have a Swift that we just went like this, you know?
Yeah, well, the Ashford one that I showed you up there, that's, again, we counted.
Yes.
We counted so that was very mentally tiring. And we still did them in 3 sections.
Sabrina had her kids doing them, and I think it was a really good thing for the kids to do. You know, just for...
Oh, I've made my kids do them.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Exercise, and then a little job, you know, teaching them a little bit about math.
Well, my kids are 19 and 22, so they don't need to learn the math so much as do it. So when it comes to the fiber, if we go back to the front just by the door, I've got a bump there that I'm breaking down.
You're so organized. You've got like little sticky notes everywhere, and
well, some of that is so you can see on the door, like I've got a bunch of these like instructions, and then that gray board above the sink. That's for my daughter. She has ADHD, Tourette's, a learning disability, and we suspect she's on the autism spectrum. So she needs to have things very clearly laid out for her at all times.
Wow.
So I can't just tell her, okay, just label the yarn. She wants to put it on the board so that she can see it and do it. So it's our little method of keeping everything organized for her.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we could all use a little more of that.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
So this is a bump, about 22 pounds of the merino and cashmere. So that's way too big to dye.
Wow.
So what I do is I separate it out using the scale into 115 gram lengths.
And then you're going to dye that?
Yeah. So then I braid them together 2 at a time.
Can I touch one of these?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just feels like a cloud.
So they get braided like this guy here.
Okay.
Just a really loose braid.
Yeah.
There's 2 of the 215 gram lengths in here, so this is 230 grams. And I put 2 of these in a bag to store for later, for when I'm ready to dye them. I dye them 2 at a time. Later today, I'm actually going to be dyeing a bunch of fibers, so I can show you over here. I've got it all soaking. I'll grab the same base, but that's the base in the pan.
Wow.
It's just soaking. I like to try and make sure like all the little air bubbles and stuff are out. So I give it a good soak. I just came in yesterday to soak this.
Nice. So there's 2, did you say, in there? 2
Yeah.
bumps?
Yeah.
So that's what you'll be dyeing next week? Or
No,
this
today.
week?
Today. That's
Today.
getting dyed today. Yeah.
Nice. What colors are you dyeing it?
So I'm dyeing all one colorway. It's called Go Bold. It's one of my special babies. I'll show you after.
Okay.
It's a bit of a pain in the butt to dye, which is why I spend the whole day just dyeing that one color.
Wow.
It's 6 colors. 3 of those colors need to be using boiling hot distilled water because otherwise the dye clumps in funny ways. So it takes a long time to get the dyes mixed up, and then you apply it in stripes, and it's so pretty, but it's just a little bit of a finicky baby.
Yes.
So.
And that's something that you have to do yourself. Do you do all the dyeing yourself?
I do, yeah. Yeah, all of it. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we're ready to, do you guys want to see my brain?
Yes.
You want to see my brain? Okay.
We're going to see Tammy's brain.
Just an inside look at my brain.
Okay.
Well, not really, but sort of. So I have 372 colorways, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
Not all are active anymore, but there's probably, I would guess, around 250, 275 that are active.
Wow.
So needless to say, I cannot keep that track of all that in my brain, along with all of the different bases that I have.
Yes.
So what I've done is I use a Trello board to organize everything for me. I have a list here. I don't know if you want to bring the camera in closer. I have a list here of all of the colorways. They all have a number that's associated with them. And if we were to open this up, I can select multiple different things that have to do with the dyeing process. Like I can select a base, I can select how many I'm going to dye, it'll manufacture the date. I use like a tracking software for keeping track of all of my manufacturing, the costs and everything to do with it. I can do labels where I've got different dates for shop updates, or if it's a subscription, or if it's a custom item, etc. And it also tells me all, like if it's a variegated colorway, the colors that are in it, all the information that I'm going to need to use at some point in time later on.
To recreate it.
Yeah. So when I want to dye something, say I need to dye up all the bugs or bees, I will copy it, and I'm just going to put it into my unscheduled list. I'll click on that, and then let's say I need more of it on Barbary sock. I do batches of 4. It's an existing product. I know that the photo is okay for that one. I'll assume. I'm not actually dyeing this right now. I'm just doing this for pretend. And then I will decide what shop update I'm doing for. So it puts a little label up there, and I do a label for the base. And I'll show you why that's important in a minute. And then it will sit there. Now if I'm doing multiple pans of that, I will just copy it so that I have multiples of that sitting there. Now from here, it's unscheduled, so I'll go, okay, I need to dye this on a certain date. So I'll just open the card up, pick a due date for it. Let's say I'm going to dye it on the 30th. It always wants to default to the current time, which is never when I want to actually finish it. That's 5 p.m. All right. So I'll do that for all of them that I have for a certain date. Wow. I dye up to 8 pans in a day, sometimes 9 if I've got minis going on. But where those labels and everything become important is I need to look at my calendar to figure out what I'm dyeing for the day. Mm-hmm. So you can see we added all the bugs or bees right there for the 30th. I can see what shop update it's for and what base I need. So I don't have to look through this massive list which has a bunch of other information on it. Yeah. I can just look, what do I need for the day? And then what I do is I have barcodes for all of my colorway and base combinations. Yep. So first 3 numbers are the base. The last 5 numbers are the colorway number. I have a little spacer. 20 is my spacer. It's the year I started my business. It was a good number to start with. Mm-hmm. So this is actually technically colorway number 95, that particular one, right? Nice. So it tells you kind of how long the colorway's been around a little bit. Yeah. So those all get put into little plastic things that I have left over from my travel agent days, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And they get put on a rack where I can pull all the yarn. Wow. So you've got a calendar that tells you every day, too, what you're going to be doing. Yeah, so I can pre-plan like as far in advance as I feel like doing. So it works really nicely for that. Well, it's really nice to be here on a day that your shop is closed, but that you're working so that we could, get to see your process. This is amazing. Wow. Could you believe that there's this much to it? And that's just, we haven't even dyed anything yet. Yeah. All right, so once I've pulled out all of my bases that I need to do for the day, usually they'll go onto that grid wall that's kind of sitting close to the sink here. Mm-hmm. And I'll get the skeins washed up, and then I will put them into the pans according to whatever my dye recipe calls for. Right. Some I need like a lot of water for, so I need a 6-inch deep pan. Right. Most of them I can use a 4-inch deep, but if I'm just applying the color, like for the fiber, if I'm just applying the color directly onto the yarn or the fiber, then I just use a 2-inch pan. Right. It's just because usually there's a very low amount of water in there, and I can just squeeze it out easily, and it's not that much of a problem. Right. So is the pan, will you be dyeing in there and kind of processing it in the same pan? Yeah, yeah. So, cool. Usually I wash up like 8 to 12 of them at a time in a bigger bin, and then I just throw them into the pans. Nice. They get acid at that point in time. You need acid to set the dyes. Mm-hmm. But it kind of depends again on the colorway. So for a tonal colorway that's leaning more towards a solid, I never want to say it's a solid because you never know what's going to happen in the dye pan. You don't want to add acid until the very, very end, right? When you're just setting that color. I see. You give it a cold soak and cold dye and let it sit, and then bring it up to heat slowly, and then add your acid. Whereas other ones, like when I'm doing colorways like this, where I want very distinct patterns of color, then I need to have the acid in the water before it even goes on the heat. Wow. So
Lots to learn. You almost have to be a bit of a chemist, I would say.
A little bit, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So once they're ready, I bring them over in that rolling pan rack that has been shown already to the dye pots. If they need to get started on the heat, they get started. If not, they just sit on the tables waiting for the dye. Now, the dye is right here. It comes in a powdered form. We cannot open this jar because it's something that you don't want to accidentally breathe in.
Right.
I actually wear a respirator mask every time I have the dye pots, the dye jars open.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of these fancy things.
Okay.
So.
And do you actually? I noticed there's jugs of color.
Yeah. So that's my no dye left behinds.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be using a bunch of that up in the next couple of weeks because I have a bunch of undyed Corriedale and BFL and whatnot that I've got that I want to use just for sampling with the spinning wheels.
Ah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to throw some on some fiber. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're dyeing in your pans, you're using powdered dye,
yeah.
not wet.
So it gets mixed up with either hot water. Usually I just fill this with some hot water. I don't usually turn it on because it takes like 45 minutes to heat. My hot water here is really hot, so it is good for probably, I'd say 70% of the dyes. The rest are a little finicky, and they don't like our hard water in Edmonton, so they actually have to use the distilled water that I get, and at a boiling temperature, and that will break that dye down, and so it mixes up. Otherwise, what happens is you get either, it looks like little blood clots almost, right, that are floating in the water of usually red. It's almost always red, sometimes kind of an orangey red, but almost always red. Or it looks like little, I don't know, little iron particles that have joined together. And so what happens is the water and the dye starts to actually separate. It's really interesting. Wow. So that was very frustrating in the beginning.
Do we have hard water here?
We have very hard water.
Edmonton?
Yeah, very hard. So, yeah, so I have to buy a bunch of the water jugs.
Wow. Okay.
Oh. So then, once all the dye is mixed up, it all gets brought here, and we do all of the dyeing. Now I've got one here that I actually just left in the pan here.
Wow. Okay, this is your signature color, right?
Well, this is one of them, yeah. So this is Monet's Garden. So it's 3 colors. I know it looks like more, but they just get layered on in there. So they all have a dyeing zip tie that we put on, so that it's easy to lift them in and out of the water. And they get the color applied. Usually I do 1 color at a time, sometimes more, depending again on the colorway. And they usually take about 30 minutes for each color to set. So usually the process is about 2 to 3 hours per color. And what I do is I usually have all 8 of these warmers going.
Wow.
This guy that's along the wall is a little bit of a special one. You'll notice the pans underneath are smaller.
Yeah.
That's what I usually use for my minis. So depending on if I need minis, I might have that one going too, or I might not. Yeah. So, and if that's just for the ones that I do like 5 or 10 at a time of the solid / tonal colors.
So this is a lot of equipment too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's dedicated. So if I was to decide I don't want to do dyeing anymore, I couldn't sell this to a commercial kitchen.
No. Because
it's considered contaminated.
You could sell it to another dyer.
I could sell it to another dyer, yeah. But yeah, if I had to, I don't think I'd have to, but if I had to throw them out, I would have to probably write not for food or something on them, like very clearly, so that somebody didn't scavenge them.
Wow.
So you asked about how I come up with my colors.
Yeah.
So I started dyeing in late April 2020, which was a horrible time to start dyeing yarn because there was a lot of shortages of everything.
Yes, we couldn't even get yarn for a while.
Well, and you know what was really short?
Dye?
Respirator masks.
Oh, yes, of course.
What do you need for dyeing with acid dyes? A respirator mask. So I finally found one at Uline and paid like $45 to have it shipped from the west end of Edmonton so that I could actually start working with the acid dyes.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Now I can just go into Home Depot and buy them. But
yes.
So anyways, when I first started, I realized I needed to have a color palette. So the dye supplier that I use has these color cards, which they're fine, but they only show one depth of shade. So let me just find this one, 401. They kind of split them up on here. Not sure if I can find it on here. Okay, we'll pick a different one. 450. So this is what the supplier sent me for that color. But this is what I get a range of in colors.
Wow. On what kind of base?
So this is a superwash base. Okay. This is a non-superwash, I'm assuming. It feels like a pretty rough wool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's merino. But I wanted to know if I do a very light amount of dye versus a very heavy amount of dye, what color range am I getting? And at what point does it become pointless to add more dye, right?
Right.
So I kind of pushed it to its limits. Most of the time we don't do 4%. It's a lot of dye.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see, and so I actually used 1 gram. It was very painstaking. 1 gram samples of yarn. I had to take 0.13 grams of dye and 130 milliliters of water. Mix the dye and the water together. Use a syringe to measure out. So this would be 2.5 mils. This would be 40 mils.
Okay, you are a chemist.
And then I used those little glass mason jars. I could fit 24 of them into one of these pans, kind of like almost like a double broiler method. And then, there's over 100.
Oh my God.
So there's over 800 little samples that I did. And then, set them, wash them. I had to be very careful when I was washing them so that they stayed in the right order.
Oh my
Had to dry them again in the right order.
Oh my
But it is so helpful. I'm so glad I did it because
this is your Bible then.
It is,
correct?
because I can go, okay, I want to use this color. And what color do you want to put with it?
Yes.
What color?
Yeah, blue.
Blue. Okay, so let's pick a blue that goes really nicely with it.
Yeah. And you can do that.
So maybe we want to use that one there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we go, okay, well, we want really a darker red, so we want, and a lighter blue. So we're going to match a darker red and a lighter blue together.
Yeah.
So then I know how much dye I need to measure out.
That's brilliant. Does everybody do this?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else does it.
Yeah. Wow.
I know that there's some dyers that are making cards that have at least one of the colors on them.
Well,
but I don't know if anybody does it with 8. I'm probably a little insane.
But this now, I mean, you still probably have to deviate a little bit, right? Like if you have something it's not working out quite well.
Yeah, like, or if I make a custom color, like this is a custom color here, right? I didn't have anything quite that tone. Right. So I just mixed it myself.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
This is amazing though, isn't it?
Yeah, this is definitely
all right. Well, now
a labor of love.
Now we need to talk more about, your history.
Yeah.
And some of this is, wow. That's all I can say.
Okay, so after everything is washed, or everything is dyed, we wash it.
Yep.
It goes through a spin dryer to remove probably 95% of the water.
Oh, I see.
I find in the winter, everything dries really fast because, as you can see, I have a dehumidifier here. The humidity is currently at 51%. It's June. Yes. It'll probably climb in July and August. But in the winter, it's usually like 25, 30%. So the yarn dries like, I will wash it in the evening. It's dry in the morning.
Nice.
In the summer, we're not so lucky. We have to have, like, this was washed last night, and you can feel it's still got a little dampness in it. Yeah. Just a touch, right?
Not bad though. Yeah.
Not bad, but just a little bit.
Was this the rack you were talking about? You might roll out to the front if you needed to.
Yeah, this is the rack. I sometimes, if I'm desperate, if I need to really get things.
For me, Tammy, the thing that strikes me is how soft this yarn feels after you've washed it.
Yeah.
And it's not tightly wound yet.
Yeah.
So it feels like
it's nice and bouncy.
Oh,
and yeah. So this is actually the Corriedale that I dyed up, just some leftover dyes. Just dyeing them solids just so that we have some color to play with the drum carders and whatnot. So it dries, then it goes onto these racks. This is the second job that my daughter usually does. Yeah. So she's actually getting better at it than I am. But we have a little code. So this is our barcode that I showed you before. It kind of follows the yarn throughout the whole process. But if I need to take a picture of the yarn, because it's brand new, or I just want to update the picture, we put one skein of yarn there with the code in front, and then the rest of the skeins in front. If we don't need a picture, then that goes right to the very back. And so then she knows how many she needs to twist up. So what she will do is she will twist them all up, and I'll show you how the twister works, but she'll twist them all up so that they just look like this, which isn't very pretty. And once she's done twisting them all up, she tucks in all the ends, so they end up looking like that. Wow. And she is an expert at that. Like, she does such a good job at it. But what the twister looks like is, these poor guys got twisted so many times on Saturday, but.
You've got two of them.
Yes, because sometimes when you're doing a whole bunch of minis, it's nice to be able to do the other ones at the same time too. So we put it on here. We get these ties so they are kind of towards the ends, definitely not in the middle. If we have them in the middle, what happens is on the final twisted skein, it ends up having those ties in there, and they get to be a little more difficult to tuck in, plus they like to catch when you're hanging the yarn. All right, so this looks easier than it is. Do you want to try it? Have you used one of these before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, let's see. We'll get you. I'll show it to you, and then you can try it.
I'm terrible at this by hand.
That's okay. I just want to show how difficult it is.
Okay.
So, have to keep some tension on it throughout.
Does it stop automatically?
Yeah. So this one, so I can have it set so that I have it turn off after a certain number of rotations. So you just tap the foot pedal. Yep. It'll do the certain number of rotations that are good for getting a skein like this, and it'll just stop.
Wow.
You do have options where you can kind of start and stop it by tapping, or you can just continuous hold, which is really difficult on your leg after a few minutes. Yeah. So we just chose the tap method, and then it's the same every time.
Wow. So I'd be really good at sticking the ends in.
Sticking the ends in? Okay. So give this a try. Okay. I'll set it up for you here. Okay. Stick that in there. Oh,
do you need to give it a little snap or?
Nah, because we're not keeping it in the.
Okay. So do you hold it just like this?
Just like that, yeah. Okay. And then tap it.
Let me try that again.
Okay.
I see. So you have to hold a little pressure.
You have to have some tension on it, yeah.
Okay. And then, okay, Tammy, you didn't know it, but this is a new product you're selling.
It's the twisted coil.
Yeah. It's the colorway on steroids.
Yeah.
Holy.
So see, it's not as easy as it first appears, right?
Definitely is not. Let's see you do it now.
Okay.
The pro.
The pro.
Yeah.
Of course, it's twisted a couple times, but whatever. Now, the first, I don't know.
Do you give it a karate chop in the middle?
No.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And then it's a little tight there, so I just go like that.
That's a nice skein,
yeah.
Isn't it? Beautiful.
I've done thousands
You've done
of these.
Few of those. Mm-hmm.
So probably the first, I don't know, 500 or so before I got these. And these are so essential. I have two plus a backup one. Is I actually had the doorknobs with the levers at home.
Oh, yes.
And so instead of a hook, I'd put it over the doorknob.
Yeah.
And then I'd use these super fancy high-tech chopsticks.
Yes.
These are probably the same ones. They last a long time. And would actually just hand twist it every time. But the process looked pretty much the same. So
much faster, much neater.
Yes, yeah.
But a challenge.
And especially like if we're doing like, I did an advent for Polka Dot Creek a few weeks ago. 200 minis. You're doing 200 minis plus all of the other ones that we just regularly do. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of twisting to do by hand. People will get injuries twisting that many by hand, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, those are cool tools.
Yeah. Not cheap. Not very many companies have them, but
necessary.
Yeah, there's one. This is a Canadian company that makes these ones, and then there's one in the U.S. that I'm aware of. There is a drill hack that you can use where you attach a hook to a drill.
I've seen that on Instagram.
But it's not attached to anything. And I think if you're doing tons and tons of these, you need something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from there it gets labeled and then it goes out into the store.
Wow.
So.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back and chat with Tammy more about her history.
All right.
All right. Wow. Ooh. That was an amazing tour, Tammy. Yes. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. So here we are in front of the wall of yarn. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it feels really cozy and homey.
Does.
And yeah. I mean, as we've told you before, we've sold our bricks and mortar shop location. We don't have a wall of yarn anymore. So thank you for letting us come and use yours as a backdrop for our podcast. It's really nice. So tell us your origin story. Right? So, where did all this start?
So at the beginning of 2020, I was a newer travel agent. I'd been selling travel for less than a year, very part-time because both of my parents needed some care up until my dad went into long-term care in June or July of 2019. I was over at their house all the time, appointments and helping and whatnot. Mm-hmm. My mom also needed a hip replacement. She was scheduled for a hip replacement. I think it was March 9th or 11th of 2020. Oh, which if you're thinking about the dates, that's just before everything closed down. Yeah. So I purposely did not have anybody traveling during the spring break because my mom was having her surgery right before spring break. I knew she would need my help. So I'm like, okay, not booking anybody, referring those out. So when the pandemic broke out and all of my travel agent colleagues are trying to get people back into the country,
yes,
I had nothing to do other than help my mom. And of course we were being told, no, you have to, be away from people and all the rest of it. So, I was doing all of her grocery shopping and everything, but that was about it. So I got bored. I don't do bored very well. I probably have ADHD and I just don't do board. So I had bought some hand-dyed yarn. I was looking at all this hand-dyed yarn and I had stuff in my head and I couldn't find anybody that had what I had in my head. So I'm like, well, what does it take to hand-dye yarn? And I started Googling and I started looking on YouTube. And I started using the knowledge that I had from before about my textile knowledge and went, I'm going to try this. So, of course, like I mentioned with the whole respirator mask thing, getting supplies was really, really difficult. Mm-hmm. And so I actually started out with food coloring from the store that's literally 3 bays down, which is really funny because it's Wilton's down there, and I use their food coloring gel. Yeah. And I was hooked after the first dip into the food coloring. I was like, this, I love it. And so I think I'd ordered, I don't know, a dozen skeins of bare yarn, and I was done those dozen skeins in like 2 days. I was like, I need to order more. So I ordered like 20. And then when it came in, I was done that in another 2 days. I'm like, okay, I'm going to order 40. And I'm like, this is going to become a problem because I can't use this fast enough. And my husband said, yeah, so you're going to have to start selling that, right? I'm like, I think so. But I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. Like my dad had his own businesses. My husband has his own business. So I knew I didn't want to just start listing everything right away. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to make sure I have the domain name. I'm going to look into pricing. I'm going to figure out my bases. I'm going to figure out my colors, which you've seen.
That's, I have to say, like, that's a really important step that I think a lot of people skip. It's the whole idea of, you know, what is my price and can I make a living from this? Yeah. You know, like, can I pay myself based on what I'm selling my yarn for? Yeah.
Yeah, I had to figure out if I take the cost of my base plus the time and the dyes and the water and everything else, and if I factor in discounts and whatever, you know, what is my price needing to be? Yeah. So it took me a long time. I wanted to make sure my website was running the way I wanted it to run. It's gone through some changes since then. It's been 3 years almost. So.
How did you come up with your name?
Oh, that one's fun. So I mentioned my husband has his own business. He's a financial planner. He used to go by the name Legacy Financial. He registered the name with Alberta. He was using it for numerous years. He got a letter in the mail one day from a financial institute down in Calgary called Legacy Savings that started using Legacy Financial in their papers. They weren't a mutual fund savings investment company. They decided to bring that product in, and they just started using Legacy Financial for about 8 months, and then realized that it was actually a name being used. So they sent us a letter, a cease and desist letter, even though we had the name registered. And it was a bit of a pain, but luckily my husband, he only works by referral. His clients know him by his name, not by his business name. Right. So we changed his name to something much more unique, sold that name to that other company. We're like, yeah, you're not suing us for using a name that we registered first. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a really unique name that nobody else would have. Right. So when I'm trying to come up with names, I'm like, what do my kids' nicknames sound like put together? So my oldest is Brianna. My youngest is Nicole, or Nikki. She doesn't like to be called Nikki by anybody but us. But when Nicole was learning how to say her sister's name, she couldn't say Brianna. So she called her Mana. And that name has stuck. She's actually in my phone as Mana. That's just how we refer to her, even to this day. My youngest, I don't know how it came about, but we started calling her Nikki New or Nikki Nunu, and that just stuck. And so she's actually in my phone as Nunu. So I'm like, okay, what if I mash the kids' names together? And that's how Numana came about. Right. Wow. They did not like it at first. They wanted it to be Mana New because that's the name of that's the order of their names. I'm like, no, it's Numana. It's my business. I'm calling it this.
Wow.
So
that's really fun.
Yeah. So if we see another branch off and it's Mana New, we'll know what happens. The kids have taken over the business.
Yeah. They've changed it on me.
Oh wow, that's so funny.
The funny thing is when we picked my husband's business name, we didn't know it's actually his business name now is Itty Financial. We didn't know that that's the name of a fortress along Hadrian's Wall in England. We had no idea. My name is actually a little municipality in Italy. So it's a little town. So we both have like geographical, but no connection to those.
Great.
So
right. So there is a Numana
in Italy. Yeah.
And did you go there?
No, we didn't. It was too far out of the way. So,
what took you to Italy?
We just like traveling.
Oh, so, perfect.
Former travel agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my husband's hometown, he's from Italy as well, in a little town called Grimaldi. There's a street called Peppino Street, which I sent a picture of to Richard DeVries.
He has a base.
Yeah, he has a base called Peppino. So isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's really a great story.
So tell me, what are your future plans? What's on the horizon?
On the horizon. Okay. So I am planning on doing advent calendars.
Ooh, fun, hey?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a really big plan. I don't even want to discuss what it all involves, but I have a really big plan. It looks like a circle in my head. Okay. That's all the information you're going to get.
Okay.
But it's
Watch
really,
out
really
for
big.
advent calendars.
Yes, and advent calendars will definitely play into that. I do have pop-ups that I have at the store. I had one 2 weeks ago for Knit in Public, where I brought in 8 other vendors. So we had Under the Elm Yarnery, which has a mobile truck out front.
Cool.
And then 7 other vendors in the back in the dye space. I moved all of that dye equipment to the very, very back of my bay. Wow. And we had a fantastic day.
I'll bet.
So we're probably going to do that again next year. And I think we'll probably do an inside one, obviously, for November. I don't think we'll have anybody sitting outside knitting in public in November. Nice. But we'll do something similar.
Well, that would be fun. November would be a really good time.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're also starting to bring in classes. So I'm teaching a dyeing with food coloring class.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to go next door and get some?
I actually have all of them. My oldest daughter is actually going to be working and making all of the samples for us. So I'm teaching her how to dye at the same time.
Nice.
Because she doesn't really know how. I chose to do it that way because some of the other dyers, they do like a speckling class, or you go to a fiber festival and they'll do like, you've got pre-mixed dyes, you apply them to the yarn, it gets heated and set, and that's it. I wanted people to actually be able to take this skill and bring it home. In a safe way, because everybody has access to food coloring dyes. Everybody has pots and pans and everything like that at home, so it's easy to replicate at home. And I wanted to teach so we'll be doing 4 different techniques. So
perfect.
Nice, and it's nice. It's like baking, isn't it? It's safe.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about it. Special equipment and
you don't have to invest in a bunch of stuff before you even find out if you like doing it. Right. Yeah. So, and there's some things that you can do with food coloring that you can't necessarily do with the acid dyes, because food coloring is not made for dyeing yarn; it's made for coloring food. So it reacts a little bit differently. So
that's really cool. That's really, and I think too, a class like that is really helpful for people to understand how much work goes into dyeing your yarn.
Yes.
Sometimes you look at a skein of yarn and say $40. Like, what? But that represents hours and layers of color.
Yeah. And getting it right. It's really easy to make ugly yarn.
Yeah. If you don't know the color theory, you're like, I'm going to put purple and yellow and green together, and I'm just going to throw it into the pot, and you end up with some gray brown. You're like, that just doesn't look right.
We've all been there, haven't we? Yeah. And it's like the cake that flops too, right? So having you guide everybody through the process is just such a way of guaranteeing some success.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And then I don't have it scheduled yet, but I do plan on teaching acid dyeing courses. Those will be for people that are really wanting to really get into it. They plan to have the equipment at home. They might be hand weavers that really want to create their own hand-painted warps, or spinners that want to create their own fiber or whatnot, right? Or people that want to get into indie dyeing.
Needle filters too. Like there's some really great Edmontonians doing fantastic needle felted art.
Yes.
And wouldn't it be nice if they could be able to create their own custom tones for that work?
So That'll be geared, and that'll probably be like multi classes. You kind of have an introductory class and then specific techniques.
Well, you definitely have the space for it.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a great location. Thank you so much for welcoming us in today. We really appreciate it, and we hope that your business goes really, really well.
Thank you.
You know, it's a hot, sultry summer here in Edmonton, Alberta. It's been nice to spend a little bit of time in this air-conditioned yarn vault.
I've been enjoying the yarn fumes.
Yes.
Yarn fumes.
And now I think, Barb, we're going to have to do a little shopping.
Yes.
What do you think? All right. Thank you again, Tammy,
no problem.
for spending so much time with us today. We love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And let's say, you know, take care, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.